Welcome to the Jovenshire channel, where I am in fact the Jovenshire, and here we cover all things movie news, geek news, gaming news, comic book news, just all things geek culture that I want to talk about, and then you and I discuss in the comments below. If you're new to the channel, please hit that subscribe button, because I think if you like this video, you're gonna like the other videos that we do, and you don't want to miss out on some of the hot takes that we got here. Yes, I called them hot takes, and I'm only kind of regretting it. Also, if you are a subscriber already, make sure you've got notifications set up, because I don't want you to miss any of these videos that we're doing. But let's get into today's topic, which is in fact Star Wars, and just the entire franchise with the movies. Is it impossible for them to make a perfect Star Wars movie? Now, of course, when it comes to something like perfection or what you think of it or reviews or whatnot, it really kind of falls in the eye of the beholder. We're really going to touch on that right now because I feel like it's all of these beholders with their eyes which are kind of ruining the franchise and what we can actually get in the future. Star Wars has been going on for 40 years, since 1977 to today. Stronger than it's ever been with this franchise is going on like right now. And we just got Solo: A Star Wars Story, and this is not my review on Solo: A Star Wars Story, though I will be touching on a few things that the audience took from it to kind of prove my point. I will have a video later on this week going up where I will explain why Solo: A Star Wars Story is actually my favorite Star Wars movie to date. That is right, it has toppled A New Hope for me, but that's in that video. I want to talk about why it's impossible to have a perfect Star Wars movie. And right now it really kind of boils down to the fans. Because this franchise has been going on for so long, Star Wars used to be the thing. And this is what really hurts the most. Star Wars used to be this thing that brought people together. And it was like this common ground in the geek world where you're like, oh, you like Star Wars? Oh, I like Star Wars too. Man, I love Star Wars. Yeah, me too! That's what the wars used to be about. It brought people together. And now, Star Wars movies, literally if you say that you like a Star Wars movie and you say which one you like, you are now going to spark a debate with another Star Wars person. It's not bringing people together anymore, it's dividing the audience, and that is the worst goddamn thing that could ever happen to this franchise. I'm sorry, I'm a little upset about that because people have kind of taken what Star Wars is, and as something like this kind of pop culture phenomenon is, like it becomes a part of you, and because it's so much of you, you feel like what you know of it and what you like of it is the end-all be-all. So people have, like, during episode 8, there was the whole, not my Luke Skywalker. That's not a thing, because Luke Skywalker isn't yours. Yes, you grew up with this character, and yes, you love this character, and yes, you idolize this character, but he's not your character. What you want from the franchise isn't necessarily what you deserve from the franchise because you aren't the one making the movies. I'm sorry, that is a hard pill to swallow, but it has to be said because of decades, literally decades of people loving this franchise so much. There are specific things that they want from a movie. And this isn't always just because it's a die-hard fan. There's things that I want to see from a movie versus one of my friends, what they might want from the movie versus what you might want from a movie. I love action and comedy in a fun, lighthearted tone in an action state, whereas someone might want like a more to-the-point, character-driven story arc. Now also in Star Wars, something that you have are these different types of movies. You might have one movie that is literally a part of a trilogy, and that story won't be complete until the end of the third movie, which really bugs me right now about fans complaining about stuff that doesn't make sense in Star Wars Episode 8, where it's like, you're just gonna kill off Snoke and not give us any backstory? Bitch, there's still a third movie that you haven't seen yet that might go into those details. And if not, guess what? They're gonna do the same thing that they're gonna do for the last 40 years, which is gonna be talking about it in the comic books, the video games, the actual novelizations. There's never a stone that is not left unturned when it comes to Star Wars because people want that information, which obviously we can see from Episode 8. But just the fact that people they see a movie and they're like, that wasn't a good movie. That was the worst Star Wars movie I've ever seen. Just because they didn't like a few aspects of a movie. The worst thing I think a Star Wars fan could say was, I didn't like this scene because it was too cheesy. I'm gonna tell you something right now that you may have forgotten. We used this debate back during the prequels, but because the prequels were, they were just poorly done, the argument was discredited. Star Wars is a kid's movie. To kind of prove my point, there has not been a Star Wars movie that is unanimously liked by all Star Wars fans since Star Wars Episode 5 Empire Strikes Back. That means one of the original movies from the trilogy, the beloved trilogy, the Star Wars original trilogy, there's a movie in there that some people hate. That's Return of the Jedi, because they added teddy bears fighting men in armor and somehow winning. The movies, since day one, have been cheesy. And the reason Star Wars is so great is because we watch it and we're affected by it at such a young age that it becomes a part of our life. And then the nostalgia stays with us, and we get all excited and you love it every time you see it. Well, that's how it's supposed to be. That's not what it is anymore. Now people go into it with these jaded reviews where it's like, I didn't like where this went, and this didn't make sense to me personally because I had a fan theory, which I like a lot more. That's not what it's about. It's about being a child again and getting lost in this cheesy science fiction space opera. That's what Star Wars is, and everyone wants something different from it because it means something different from each person. But as long as people walk into these debates where they're like, episode 8 was really bad. Well, I think episode 7 was the worst because it just copied episode 4. First of all, there's nothing wrong with that because episode 4 is such a perfect movie that I wouldn't mind seeing it again, just updated. It's kind of interesting. I'm going to tap into my solo review a little bit here. I loved Solo Star Wars Story mainly because there were a lot of Easter eggs that I got that really kind of just expanded the world and the galaxy of Star Wars for me versus my wife not liking it that much because she's like, I didn't get a lot of the Easter eggs and whatnot, but hey, I love Star Wars Episode 7. Star Wars Episode 7 is her favorite movie, and it's other people's favorite movies because that's where they came in. That is where they were truly affected by what Star Wars is, and that's like the world that they know. They might not remember all of the original trilogy movies, thus making the newer movies their favorite movies. So it really comes down to those two things. Just the fact that audiences want to make it something that it's theirs, and I think because of this ownership of the brand, we've had these expectations that are so high and people want different things from a movie experience. I wonder if that's the kind of direction that Disney's going in right now, as they're playing these safe moves to try to make as many people happy, and so we aren't getting like these exciting, bold moves. Wait a second, that's not even true, because in episode 8, those were some bold goddamn moves. The next person to say Star Wars is safe is crazy, not paying attention. The fact that Rian Johnson just went ahead and was like, you know what? Rey's a nobody in this movie, and we're gonna kill off Snoke. Those were dangerous moves, and I respect them for making those moves because no one was expecting it. They literally did something nobody was expecting, and people hated it because it wasn't what they had in mind. So I think that as a Star Wars fan, I'm upset and I'm sad. Star Wars is the reason I am the way that I am. I loved the video games. I loved the movies growing up. It got me into being a geek. When I went to school in elementary school, we played Star Wars on the playground. Like, that's what life was like for me growing up, because Star Wars is amazing, and people need to stop forgetting that what Star Wars is at its core. It's a fun, campy adventure that is telling the story over a long period of time. 40 years of telling a specific story with little moments being defined a little bit more, and you have to be okay with that. People saying that there wasn't enough character development in Star Wars Rogue One, that's kind of silly, because in Star Wars Rogue One, the movie takes place over what, 2 days? So let me tell you, the last 2 days of my life, I have not expanded on my character whatsoever. I also haven't stolen the plans to a major base, but let me tell you, in those 48 hours, there's not a lot changing. It's just a fun adventure, and you're seeing a moment in time. Versus the trilogy movies take years to tell a single story, and people rush and they get ahead and they judge too quickly. It's Star Wars, man. Buckle up and enjoy the ride through hyperspace. You just gotta remember that it's magic. And when you go to see a magic show, it's ruined for you if after each trick you're trying to figure out how they did it. Just enjoy the ride and be happy that to this day we're still getting a lot of Star Wars movies, and that's not a bad thing. We got the games, we got the comics, we got the TV shows, we got the live action TV shows. There's so much Star Wars. So if you don't like one thing, you're gonna like another thing. So it's sad that there can't be a perfect Star Wars anymore, and I really don't think that there's gonna be one thing that brings everyone together. I unfortunately don't think so. But that doesn't mean that we don't have Star Wars, and that is something we all need to remember and really, truly appreciate, that we get to have this experience. We have this thing that makes us us. So stop being so judgmental about Star Wars movies and just have a good time. But that is my rant on this. That might be my unpopular opinion. I don't know and I don't care, but I do want to talk to you guys. What do you think of the Star Wars franchise right now? What are the things that you're liking versus what are the things that you aren't liking? Let's talk in the comments below, because that's why I make these videos, because I love having this connection with you guys. Like I said before, if you're new to the channel, please hit that subscribe button, because I got more stuff coming up. If you haven't seen Solo Star Wars movie yet, spoiler alert, I liked it. Go see it. Also, my review's coming up later on this week. Like I said, I want to make sure that there's enough time for people to see the movie first. But until the next time, guys, may the Force be with you.